Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Muskan, your host and your host for the podcast series, The Journeys. Today we have with us Sridharan Vinobaji, an AVP at Scripbox and a member of GrowthX. Sridharan has an impressive background in the field of growth, marketing, business development, and we are honored to have him here with us today to share his insights and experiences. As a seasoned professional, Sridharan has a wealth of knowledge to offer on how to drive growth and drive marketing strategies that lead to success. Whether you are a business owner, a marketer, or just someone who's passionate about the world of business and growth, this episode is for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from one of the industry's leading experts. So let's start the conversation with Sridharan Vinobaji. Hello, Sridharan. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Hi, Muskan. I'm glad to be here as well. Thank you for having me.
So I would like to begin with my first question, which is, could you please tell us about your professional background?
Okay. So firstly, I'd actually like to tell a story of how things started, and one of my small learnings along the journey as well, right? So I'm a biotech engineer, and I followed the herd mentality at that point in time because they said biotech is booming. You should take it up. I went and joined biotech. And when I completed, there were no jobs available in biotech. And they also mentioned that, people from biotech are not allowed to sit in placements. So at that point in time, I was broken and I had no idea what to do. So I pursued opportunities, and at one point in time, I got to know that there was a drive that was happening, mass recruitment drive that was happening in one of a large IT company. So I went there. I was standing in the line. It was a huge lineup, and a person who was standing in front of me said, "Hey, what have you studied?" And I said, "I've completed my biotech engineering." They said they will. It's an IT company. They would not hire people from biotech. Why are you even wasting your time? I said, "I've gotten ready. I've come here. Might as well see what happens." So the first round was aptitude round, and like I got through the aptitude round. I came out and I met the same person. I'm like, "How did it go?" He said, "I did not get through." And that's when I realized people will tell you that, hey, you can't do it, but you never know what will happen. So might as well take that chance and see what happens. So there were about 5 to 6 rounds. I cleared all the rounds, and I was one of those 4,000 people. Out of 4,000 people, they about 40 people got through. I was one of them, and I was really happy that people told me that, hey, you can't do this, but if you really put your heart and soul into it, you'll figure out a way, right? So that was my first learning, that no matter what, you can figure your way out, right? It's never the end of the road. So I joined that company. I spent about a couple of years there, and it's at a very good base for me. I learned a lot of behavioral stuff in that organization because you're new to your job. You're trying to see what happens, how are things going on, new learnings, new people to talk to. So a lot of nurturing that happened from a work point of view, right? But towards the end of 2 years, I also realized that you try to figure out what your superpower is. You try to figure out what do you really like doing. So at that point in time, I realized that my superpower is creativity. My superpower is talking to people and understanding different perspective and coming up with something very innovative. And that's when I made a choice to join a startup, which was into early childhood education. There were only two people. It was a huge transition for me. I went from a company of 1 lakh people and more to a company where there were two people. It was a small setup inside a house, and I was there. But one of the things that I really, really loved about doing that is most of my learning in my early stages of my career came from there, because there's a huge responsibility given to you.
I
And at that young age, when you start doing these, right, it gave me a great platform to experiment, do new things. So I set up the entire branding for the organization. I had to tie up with Fortune 500 companies to expand the business, increase the franchisees and the entire revenue, was my responsibility. So while I was very young at that point in time, I had great mentors who taught me how things could be done. Right. So great learning there. Right after that, I wanted to have sort of formal education in marketing because I really started enjoying what I was doing. And at that point in time, I also wanted an international exposure. So I went to Canada to pursue my PGDM in marketing in a college called 𝐓𝐇𝐄 College. I was there for 2 years. When I was at, while I was pursuing the studies, I also had about 4 jobs that I did there. So a lot of learnings in that time. And once I finished my studies, I realized that uh, I wanted to be a part of the startup ecosystem because there is an kind of entrepreneur in me which said that, hey, you know what, if you are, you know, if you can really deliver something for this ecosystem, why not go and pursue it? So I came back to India and I joined a wealth management firm here, and I spent about four years there. And the way I got the job was very interesting. I actually went and met a person for an information interview, and I was trying to understand how is this, because I spent 2 years outside. I want to know how is the system back in India. So I was just talking to her, and by end of that 1 hour conversation, she said, "I have a job for you in our organization. Would you want to take it up?" I was like, definitely. And she said, marketing department is something which we need someone to set up and kind of scale it. Would you be able to do it? I said, yes, definitely, I do it. And then I took that opportunity as a stepping stone in that organization. I set up the marketing department there and then eventually moved up to the leadership team where I very closely work with the CEO in a lot of strategical projects as well. Right. Then I wanted to really be a part of tech system because and now everybody uses phone and everything is kind of tech enabled, and I wanted to be a part of the tech ecosystem, and Scriptbox happened to me here. I'm responsible for acquisition and revenue for the HNI segment. So yeah, that's my journey.
So, Dharan, could you throw some light on your time in Canada and why did you choose to come back? You know, a lot of people must be asking you the question that why, Dharan, did you choose to come back to India?
Right. So I think one of the biggest life learnings I had was in Canada. Right. While I went to pursue marketing education and get the knowledge of marketing, I actually learned life lessons there. I'll tell you why. So, you go to a new country, you have no idea of who the people are, what's the kind of culture. So, there's a huge culture shock initially when you go there. Second, you're on your own. You take a lot of things for granted in life, right? Like when I went there, I realized how important the smallest things that my family did for me mattered so much. Because when I went there, I started missing all of that. When you're with your family, you don't really think about it. You don't really your food's on your plate, your things are taking care of you. You have a house, you have a shelter, and everything is paid for. We should be really grateful for that. And
True.
then when I went there, I had to do all this on my own, but that was my biggest learning, right? I had to cook by myself. You're washing because there you don't have house help. You have to do everything by yourself, right? So from cooking, cleaning, washing, studying, doing projects, and also working on the side to make sure you have enough income because that's where the value of money is taught, right?
True.
So I did all of that. I also did 4 jobs because I did overwork myself. I did not sleep enough, which I don't recommend people to do. But I worked as a dishwasher there. I worked as a salesperson in a mall. I also worked in a digital agency where that's where I picked up digital marketing. And the learning of the digital marketing, I picked up those learnings and did a project in the college for one of the facility rentals there to grow their business and drive more traffic to their website. So I did all of that while I was studying and taking care of my life, which I felt was crumbling and falling apart. But I think that kind of, set the base of, hey, you know what, no matter what happens, you can handle stuff. You're good on your own. So that was a great learning for me. And the reason I came back is, like I mentioned, it was the startup ecosystem I wanted to be a part of. Two, a lot of things that I took for granted, I came back and I started appreciating it even more. And I'll be really candid and honest. The kind of food that you get in India, I don't think you get anywhere. So the weather, the food, all of that is
I agree.
something which, yeah. So I mean, the weather there
I
is
can
extreme.
totally relate to you, whatever you're saying, because even I spent like 3 years in Europe and I was appreciating everything. Every food I get there, at my home, it was all free. We are getting all these facilities and we are not asking for it. We are just getting it. We should be
Right,
feeling the gratitude, and I can totally relate. I also came back to India because I wanted to work for my country,
right.
and I knew that I can grow here more in India because there you have
Okay.
to do a lot of adjustments in life. You have to start from the scratch, but here we have like our whole life built up here, so it's pretty easy, and I would say that people should work for their country. That's
Absolutely. And the Asian market is huge.
growing,
And
it's
to be a
growing,
part
yes.
of the Indian ecosystem at this point in time is you're in the right place at the right time. Right. So
Exactly.
here, if you can help grow the ecosystem here, you will definitely grow along with it. So you should make sure that, the time that you get right now, take the right decisions, the right calls, and be a part of this ecosystem and help the country grow as well. So definitely.
So Dharan, what motivates you to kickstart your day?
Uh, to be very honest, the fact that we're alive, the fact that we wake up, we're healthy, and we're able to do things, that is basic motivation. Put on your positive pants and go get ready to conquer stuff. That's all. There's nothing else that you need. That motivation is a state of mind. There is You don't need a motivation to do things. It's you start doing things, and on the way you realize that you would be motivated doing it. It's the first step that you take, right? I'll give you a small example of something called tiny habits, because I believe that motivation is not the driving factor for everything. But if you create a habit, that's going to change everything, right? Like, for example, tiny habits. uh, what happens is it tells you that you take small baby steps at a time, and
Mhm.
then by a month or two you realize that you have conquered a lot. So let me give fitness as an example. So let's say, if I tell you that you have to, someone who's never into running, I tell them that, hey, you have to run 5 kilometers early in the morning. You try the first day, and then you realize that you're not able to wake up, there is no motivation to run, you'll be like, no, I'm just going to give up, man, I can't do this. But let's say if I tell you that, wake up in the morning, okay, there's alarm ringing, just switch off the alarm and go to sleep. You'll do it. You'll be like, I just have to switch off the alarm. The next day, I tell you that the alarm will ring, switch off the alarm, get off the bed, and then come back on the bed. That's also doable. Fine. The third day, I tell you that do the same thing, switch off the alarm, get off the bed, go there and put your shoes on, and then go back to sleep. You'll be able to do that. The fourth day, I'll tell you, put your shoes on and then stand up and go to the washroom. The fifth day, I tell you, put the shoes on, stand up, go to the washroom, and then brush your teeth. The sixth day, brush your teeth, go outside, stand, close the door, and then come back inside. If you can do this, right, what you're doing is you're trying to inculcate a habit. So by the sixth day, the first habit of switching off the alarm is just involuntary. So eventually, when you keep doing this step by step, right, so going from going to outside the house to going to a place where you can start running, slowly start walking, then take 1 round, take 2 rounds, 5 rounds, 10 rounds, and then that becomes a habit.
I
So
totally agree. Setting
that's what
short-term
you need.
goals, to achieve something bigger is really important because when you set a bigger goal, it's really hard to achieve. But when you set for a day, for a week, then it's pretty achievable.
Right.
Right. So, my next question to you is, what are the most important work ethics that you believe in?
Most important work ethics. Well, there are three most important work ethics that I believe in: is
Mhm.
integrity, respect, and communication. And integrity is a little different from honesty. I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
Now, integrity is what you do when no one's looking at you. One of the bosses that I worked with, and this is what he taught me very well. He said, if I'm not around you, if nobody is around you, when you're doing something, are you doing it with honesty? Are you doing it with your full will for doing it, and are you doing it right? And that's what integrity is, not what you're showing others that you're doing, right?
What you silently are doing, right?
Exactly, right? So that is very important. Second is the respect that you have. So a respect for yourself, b respect for your peers, right? It's very important. Never let go of your self-respect. That being said, also respecting people around you is very important.
True.
Taking in their views, making sure that you have an inclusive environment when you're working, right? So that's extremely important. The third bit is communication, and I can't stress enough on this that this is the most underlooked things for people who work. There might be somebody who's extremely good at working. They might be fantastic. They'll be like 10 on 10 at the work that they do. But if they're not able to communicate that work and that impact to their peers or their stakeholders, or if others are not being able to learn from them, then you're doing injustice to the capability that you have.
True.
So communication is at utmost importance
It's a
at your
medium,
workspace and in your personal space.
Exactly. That's a medium to show your talents and what qualities you have. So without communication, you are nothing. I agree. So, what setbacks have you faced that motivated you in your life to become a better leader? Examples of the setbacks.
Yeah, so while there are multiple setbacks that have happened, there is something that stood out for me which I want to share. I've been regular in working out in sports, and during this journey, there are multiple injuries that one faces. Every sports person knows this, and it's not easy because when you are practicing and you're getting better at your craft, and when an injury happens, it derails you completely. And one of the things that recently happened to me is I had a shoulder surgery. I went to play cricket and I injured my shoulder, and I wasn't after my surgery, I wasn't able to even lift a pen. Right? It got really difficult, very demotivated at that point. That I'm not able to do things that I was able to do. I'm bedridden for a month, and it gets really difficult as to look forward to how things can get better. But this is an opportunity, right? Adversity is always an opportunity, and chaos is always a ladder for you to climb. At that point in time, I felt like, oh my God, everything is a mess, life is chaotic. But things that happened during that period kind of shaped me better. I started meditating, I started reading more books, I started practicing more gratitude. I started really enjoying finer, smallest things in life, and that helped me to kind of shape up my leadership skills also more. If I can do things for myself where it makes me feel better as a person, as a leader, I can definitely translate these to people I work with as well. So this was one it was like a blessing in disguise, to be honest.
I totally agree, that failures shape you, not the success that shapes you. I totally agree. So, what do you think are the essential traits of a good leader?
Okay. I'll tell you a small poll that I ran on LinkedIn where I asked the same question because I was curious to know this as well.
Mhm.
And the options were vision, resilience, empathy, and integrity. And all of these got similar kind of votes. And these were big leaders that participated in this poll, and they shared their perspective, right? So I did reach out to some of the leaders and spend some time understanding what really is an important trait of a leader. And eventually, with the time that I spent with my team also, I realized that nothing makes you more happier than seeing a person succeed when they thought that they're not capable of doing it. When you see that happening, right, nothing else makes you happier. All of these other traits shape you as a leader, but what gives you happiness as a leader is seeing someone really succeed. So that's the most important aspect of being a leader, making sure that someone succeeds when they think they're not capable. Bringing the best out of your people is something that you can do.
I'm curious to know what was the most answered question in that poll. Like which one got the highest number?
It was vision got the highest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to translate that vision to your team, if you don't know where you're heading, how would you tell your team where to go? That being said, if you know about the wolf pack, what happens is the leader always leads from behind. It's not from the front. Because you let your people make those mistakes and learn along the way, right? But from behind, you have to make sure that you've got their back, right? You don't always tell them what to do, how to do it. You let them do it, let them make mistakes, but from behind you get the back and make sure that you guide them in the right direction, you protect them. That's what a leader in a wolf pack does. So that's something I closely associate with as well.
So then, I believe that you talk about growth a lot, and I wish to know from you that how do you define the meaning of growth?
Well, there are two things, right? One is growth in a personal way and growth in a professional way, right? So if I have to define growth is how can you do things better than what you have done before? That's all. It's getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of that environment. That's why all the magic happens, right? A baby does not grow to become adult immediately. There is smaller steps that it takes. Like I gave an example of tiny habits. That's growth. Like every small thing you do to get better over the period of time, that's growth personally and professionally. From a professional point of view, like growth as a term, because I'm also associated with GrowthX, it's ensuring a company or an organization grows in a structured way, because growth is not just acquisition, it's the entire journey, and I'll cover that at some point.
Okay. So actually, my next question to you was about GrowthX. So please tell us more about GrowthX, you know.
Okay. GrowthX has been something which is very close to me at this point in time, because I joined the GrowthX 13 cohort in Jan. And I heard about GrowthX from one of my friends, and he said, "Hey, this is a great community. You should, give it a shot and see what happens." So there's something called demo day that happens, and we went and attended that demo day. During that demo day, the quality of the presentation that I saw, I have not seen anything like that in India before. It was that good, right? And all of these young people, young mind coming together as a team and creating this sort of content and insight kind of got my attention. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I love that quality. I want to be a part of this, right? So I joined, and there is a 9%, less than 9% acceptance rate out of the applicants who apply for GrowthX. So it's the top 1% of the growth leaders and founders who are a part of this community. And this is a really, really strong, helpful community, right? Like, say, if I put out a requirement that, I need help in XYZ professionally, personally, or any point in my life, they would, like 9 out of 10 people will be out there, will reply to you and help you out with that, right? So that's how strong the community is. That's why it's called the GrowthX family. So what's taught there is not just theoretical, it's mostly experiential. And how do you solve problems at each stages of growth, right? So there is the acquisition stage. So how do you acquire your customers? And then how do you onboard them? So you understand who are what's your ideal customer profile. Make sure you create journeys accordingly. Then how do you onboard them? Once you onboard them and make sure their onboarding journey is smooth for them, what do you do? How do you engage them? How do you retain them, right? So your essential components of different campaigns that you can run to make sure they're engaged and the retention happens. Right after that, there's also monetization, right? How do you monetize this entire component? And then how do you build your growth processes and your growth teams? Now, each week, these elements are covered, and there are assignments that you have to complete. And these are like assignments where you will have to be thorough with the concepts. And in that 1 week of time, you understand the entire concept. You go through these deep concepts and you apply that in your assignments that you do, and you submit your projects, and you also get peer feedbacks on this, right? So once you submit 3 projects, you get to go to the capstone. Now capstone is a privilege, right? Not everybody gets to do it. You have to have all of these assignments fully completed. Once you're through that, you apply for capstone. And then once you met the criteria, there are a set of questions that they ask. Once you met all of this criteria, you become a part of capstone, where there is a real-time problem that you're solving for a company. Now, there is each and every detail is captured in that entire document that you create in your capstone working, and everyone comes with a different skill set. And how do you use everyone's skill set, bring it together, and come up with this one solution for that problem that the company is facing? So once you create that, out of these 10 to 12 teams, top 3 teams get selected for the demo day. Now, when you go to the demo day, that's your chance to shine. There are about thousands of people who are attending this demo day online, and there are people from the company, the problem that you're solving for, they're also attending that. There are panelists, the veterans from GrowthX, who are attending this, and your mentors are also part of this, right? Now, in that demo day, once you give your presentation, there is weightage for the kind of work that you've done in your project itself. Then there is voting from the panelists. Then there is voting from the people who've attended, and all of this put together, the winners chosen, right? And if you've won it, you've kind of made it in GrowthX. That's how big this is.
I would like to congratulate you for being selected in GrowthX family. I believe it's a great achievement for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more than an achievement, it's a satisfaction of being a part of the community. The things that I see that's happening, and the kind of engagement and joy just within the community is really, really, really strong, right? Just even, I mean, to be very honest, I've stopped being spending time on social media, because the meme page that we have in our Slack group, the meme group, that itself is so exciting. You don't need social media. It's really, really fun and engaging. So yeah, it's a great place to be.
So it's great that you have a place, where you can learn and have fun at the same time. So, Dharan, my next question to you is since you have been closely associated with the Asman Foundation, one of the largest youth run NGO based out of Ahmedabad, please tell us about it.
It's a foundation working for upliftment and betterment of underprivileged kids. So I'll tell you a project which is very close to my heart. The project is called Let's Go Shopping. It's a very interesting concept, where there is a collection drive that happens, where we go collect, let's say, books, stationeries, sports items, toys, clothes, anything and everything that could benefit the kids, right? And then there is a large set of volunteers who involved in this. We go to corporates and do it. And then the second part of it is segregation. So all of these are segregated, let's say clothes, stationeries, toys, etc. And for each of these, there is a price tag that's tied to it, right? Let's say there's a t-shirt, let's say it's 100 rupees. There's a toy, which is 200 rupees, etc. The third aspect of it is training these kids, right? What happens is, on the Let's Go Shopping day, there are batches of kids who come. And what we do is, we teach them about the importance of money and relationship. So they have a fake check which we give to them. They fill out their name and details in that fake check. We have a fake bank with fake money. So they come and deposit the check. Then they collect that fake money. Once they collect that fake money, there is a mentor who also trains them and tells them as to how to negotiate. So we don't want them to feel like we're doing charity to you. We're just giving you things for free. We want them to feel like they've earned it, right? So what they do is, we also teach them how do you negotiate, what do you have to do, how do you go about things. So they take this, and once the bell rings, the ground's yours. You go inside, you can pick up and choose anything that you want. And when you go there are volunteers who are also as salespeople, right? So they try and inflate the price and try to say that no, to help these kids negotiate. Now these kids are negotiating. One is, they learn how to negotiate. They learn the importance of money. The second thing is relationships. What we also encourage them to do is, don't just buy for yourself. Buy something for your family. Buy something for your brother, mother, father, or even your friends. And this has been such a humbling experience, because something that happened. So I was mentoring one of the kids, and then the kid bought multiple items. Then the kid bought a t-shirt, and he gave it to me. And I said, why you give it to me? Buy it for somebody else. he said, "You told me that we have to buy something for friends. Aren't you my friend?"
Oh,
And that really touched my heart, right? So this is a beautiful experience that I had. I've been associated with them for 4 to 5 years, and this one project is extremely fun, and there's so much of learning and there's so much going on. It's beautiful, and I definitely encourage people to come and participate in this.
you're teaching them the real life values, So what happens
Right.
in their life? That's pretty interesting, Dharan, what you're doing. A lot of people would be motivated by whatever you're doing. So my next question to you is, who has had the biggest influence on your life?
Okay. I'll be very honest with this question. It's never been one person. I could have thought about either my father, mother, or someone who's very dear to me, or some leader I look up to. But I realized over the period of time, it's the instances, experiences, moment, and people who've been a part of those. They've had the biggest impact. For example, let's say you're drowning in water, you don't know swimming. At that point in time, you wouldn't go like, "Hey, this leader is the person I really look up to." At that point in time, the most influential person would be the person who's saving you. And that's what's happened over multiple instances where someone has come and created a big impact. And at that point in time, you wouldn't know. But when you look back, you feel like, hey, this person really had a big impact, irrespective of the age, right? So it's a variety of people who've come in different parts of my life who've had this influence. And I'm really thankful to all of them.
Okay, Dharan, so as I know that you are an avid football fan, so did you enjoy the FIFA World Cup and which team were you supporting?
This FIFA World Cup, I must say, was one of the most entertaining World Cups in the history of World Cups. And it's not just me, there was a survey that they ran, and about 71% of people voted that this was the most exciting FIFA World Cup that happened. And I was, being a Chelsea fan, I follow English Premier League. And so I was supporting England, but England did not make it through finals. So my second obvious choice was supporting a player who's one of the greatest footballers to ever played football, which is Messi. And so I was
You
supporting
were supporting
Argentina.
Argentina, okay.
Argentina, yeah. And I did not want France to win because they've already won it last year. I wanted a new team to do it. And since Messi's kind of won it all, I was supporting his team. While, although I'm a Ronaldo supporter, I was actually supporting Messi because, irrespective of anything, both of them are great players. And I wanted Argentina to win it, and they did so. But that being said, I have to give it to one player in France who I initially did not like so much. His name is Mbappe. But in that finals, he showed so much resilience because everybody thought Argentina had won it, right? But the resilience he showed, and he carried his entire team on his shoulder. And the kind of display which was showcased was insane. So I think that made the World Cup finals even more entertaining. So I should really give it up to him as well. And the entire finals was really exciting and thrilling. So
I
yeah,
agree.
it was a great experience.
So, Dharan, my last question to you is, what's your parting message to the audience?
There is a quote by Winston Churchill that I want to share with everybody. It says, "Success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts," right? And that's something I also believe in and try to practice. With all the experience that I've had and the things that I've gone through, I felt like it's the courage to continue that really, really matters a lot, right? You will have ups and downs in life, but if you're able to go on no matter what happens, just put your shoes on and go for that run if needed. That's all that matters. You will figure out the journey, and you will reach the destination that you want, but you'll enjoy that journey even more than the destination. So that's what I want to tell everybody.
I totally agree with you, Dharan, and that's a great note to end today's podcast. And I'd like to extend my gratitude to Dharan for joining us today on this podcast. It's been truly enlightening experience to have the opportunity to gain insights into his experience. Your perspectives and your leadership insights have been invaluable to the listeners, and I'm sure they have gained a lot from your words of wisdom. Thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge and for being an inspiration to all of us. We are deeply honored to have you as a guest on our show. And again, thank you, Dharan, for joining us today. I hope you had fun.
Thank you so much, Muskan. I did have a great time. I must say that you're doing a very good job at what you're doing. Creating this series and educating people and sharing different people's journey. I think it's fantastic. I've seen some of your episodes as well, and I feel like there's always something to learn from somebody, right? You never know how that could influence at some point in your life. So you guys are doing a great job. Keep doing that, and I hope great success for you and your team as well.
Thank you so much, Dharun. It was a great time. I
Thank you.
wish you
Pleasure
all
is
the
mine.
luck and success for your future.
I wish the same. You take care.
Thank you so much. And this is Muskan, and I'm signing off.